Hey folks, welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Sam.
I'm JT.
And this is our bottom 5 worker placement games. That is to say, numbers 10 through 6 of our top 10. This is not a negative list.
Nope.
We've told you that many, many times before, but just in case you're new, this isn't a negative list. It's just numbers 10 through 6 of our top 10 worker placement games. You're going to be able to watch the other half, the top 5, over on the Flipside, where JT and I usually put up content right after this. So just hold on to your hats. How was this list?
Easy. I told him to do a top 300 worker placement games, but he didn't want to do it. So I'm just
300 and number 247.
No, this was a pretty easy list.
Yep. My average weight for this one was high for me, and that's a 2.54.
Ooh.
My highest was a 3. My lowest was a 2.18.
Your highest was a 3?
Yep, my highest complexity was a 3.
My average was a 3.28. My lowest is a 2.45. Yeah. My highest is a 4.3.
Jeez, I thought I was going good.
No. Yeah.
4.3?
Yeah, worker placement games are
Dude, that's
much
like
more complex.
That's like punching a clock and going into work, man.
No. I do have 2 honorable mentions, though. One is Galactic Cruise.
Oh,
it's not out yet.
Yep, that's true.
This is a really cool game.
We've only played it once, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the other one is Apiary. Apiary didn't make my list, but I really like the bee placement and the bees aging and everything else.
Yep.
The worker placement in this one's really cool.
Yep.
So I had to at least bring it up.
That was on our last list for both of us, and that's another reason why Apiary didn't make this list. It could have very easily made this list. Now, I also included dice worker placement, and I also included worker placement with different worker types.
Nice.
So that's basically 3 different categories or 3 different kinds of worker placement that I kind of all put in together. I actually went through to make sure that I caught everything that I would potentially want to catch. I went through each of those different categories one by one. How many crossovers do you think we're going to have?
I don't know.
I think we're going to have 2.
Maybe 2?
I think we're going to have 2.
2, maybe 3.
Yeah,
Anyways,
okay.
2,
I can
maybe
see
3.
that. At least 2. This is our bottom 5 worker placement games, number 10 through 6.
Yep.
Let's hit it. My number 10 is a new game for me. This has potential to rise because I am really enjoying this game. This is the heaviest game on my, one of the 2 games that is the heaviest. And they're actually both new games. But this one is by BA Games, and it's called Forges of Ravenshire.
Nice.
This is a really fun game that I have been enjoying a lot. And it has a lot of different things going for it. First of all, the one thing that I really think is cool about the game is that the first phase of the game is where most worker placement games would stop.
Yep.
Putting your dice out there, because they are dice workers. You're putting your dice out there. The value that's on your die determines how many resources you're going to produce. And the kinds of resources that you produce depend upon which of the 6 different areas in the resource production board that you go to. But then, on top of that, placing your worker out there doesn't just get you resources. You can also then choose a die to come back to you that you are then going to employ in one of your guilds. And that die, when it comes back to you, generates more resources for you. And then you use it in one of your guilds to I really enjoyed that whole aspect of it. And most worker placement games will just stop there. But then it goes into a production phase. So you have kind of like a gathering phase, and then you have a production phase where you're going to be smelting all of these different things together and producing the refined goods that you're going to use to then make your armors or your shields or your swords or your battle axes or whatever it is that your contract you're trying to fulfill. And I really like that dichotomy that the game produces. And that's why it's my number 10. And it really does have some serious potential of rising because I'm really enjoying this game. So that's my number 10.
Nice. Got some Raiders of the North Sea meets Coimbra going on. Yep.
Sure.
With some Luke Laurie in the middle, I think. Good to go. That's a great game. I've only played it once, but it's really cool. My number 10 is an OG, had to be on this list, D&D themed, and that's Lords of Waterdeep.
Yep, I knew this was
Lords of Waterdeep is just a great worker placement game. It's going to be around forever. It's going to be in my collection forever. You're just taking your workers and you're placing them out there. You're collecting wizards and rogues and, warriors or whatever else to complete contracts.
Yep.
And that's kind of the whole thing. You're buying a few new worker placement spots as the thing goes on, but that's what you're doing. You're collecting these and creating contracts, or completing contracts. But it's just a really cool game. It's been around forever. It's going to be around forever. I just love Lords of Waterdeep.
I think you love D&D, and you also enjoy worker placement.
Sure, I love D&D.
Yep.
But it's not really, other than the name Waterdeep, I mean, there's no D&D to it.
Sure.
But
it's the theme.
But it's got a good theme.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
for sure.
It's the theme. And that's
If
where...
the theme was different, you might be right. It may not have survived.
Right.
Yeah?
But... Yeah, I never had a problem with Lords of Waterdeep. It just never grabbed me, and I think part of the reason why is because it didn't have the blinged out copy that you use. I think maybe if it had just that little touch of those 3D printed pieces that you have,
Yeah, we've talked about that before. But yep, agreed.
All right, my number 9 is another newer game, and I just reviewed this one over on the Dice Tower, and I gave it an 8 out of 10 over there. Spoilers, I guess. You can still go watch that review. But this one is by a company called First Fish Games. It's called Mistwind. This guy said I lost my mind for giving it an 8 out of 10.
I agreed.
I really enjoy this game, but not at 5 players. I will not play the game at 5 players again, but 2, 3, 4... Though really, really fun. The worker placement I actually put, and I'll even put it here just so that you can see. There's a little question mark right there because I was like, is that worker placement? Because it kind of feels like worker placement, or is it just action selection?
Yeah, I wouldn't consider this worker placement. But I get it. I get it. It's on the edge.
I do. There. I've got 5 workers. I have to give one of them a break.
Sure.
And I'm going to send the other guys out to do stuff that I need to do.
Crap up. No, I'm just kidding. That works. Whatever.
It's really fun, though. It's really fun. I love this game. There is worker placement in it. That is the mechanism of taking one of your pieces and placing it out and telling them to go do whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing. I get it. I understand it. At the end of the day, I question myself. But at the end of my list procurement possibilities, I said, what the hey? I'm going to put it on there.
Why
because
not?
It's a great game, and it is worker placement. So that's Mistwind, my number 9.
Nice. All right. My number 9 is a game from 2022 from Adam Kopinski and Board and Dice. And you are putting little terracotta statues. Terracotta, I think it's terracotta. Yeah, they're terracotta. Of course they are.
Yep.
This is Terracotta Army.
Yep.
This one in particular has such a cool worker placement dynamic. You have 2 little wheels in the corner of the board, and those wheels turn. One of them turns clockwise, one of them turns counterclockwise, and it's got worker placement spots all the way around it. And depending where you are, you get to take all 3 spots, the inner wheel, the middle wheel, and the outer wheel, which is static on the board. You're going to take all 3 of those actions, gaining clay, watering clay, building a statue, whatever else. You can also pay on your turn to turn one of those dials, which will then change every single worker placement on the board, for the next person. And the worker placement spots are limited in their usage. If somebody has a small worker put there and you have a big worker, you can put it on the same spot. But if somebody starts with a big worker on a spot, it's completely blocked off. And obviously, if you don't have a big worker, you can't go there. So the worker placement spots are continually evolving as people are turning these different dials, trying to get 3 things lined up that they want, all in the pursuit of creating this terracotta army in this grid that is scored by row, by column, by area, depending on what the current scoring opportunities are.
Yep.
And there's just a really lot of cool things that are going on with that worker placement itself. So
Agreed.
it hit this list because of the way the worker placement works and the way those dials work.
Yep.
I really think that's a really cool mechanic.
That is cool. Yeah. I've only played this game once, I believe, and it was with your copy. You're teaching it, so. But yeah, I also like the visual appeal that it has because you're actually making your terracotta army on the board as you're going through. So that's a good pick. Well done.
Yep. My number 9 terracotta army.
Yes, sir. My number 8 is, I believe, one of the older games on my list. It's called Nehemiah. I'm not talking about Ezra and Nehemiah, although Ezra and Nehemiah did come across my path as I was looking for possibilities for the list. I just don't have enough experience with it yet to really put my full weight behind it. But Nehemiah is a game that I do have a lot of experience with, and we just played it a couple of weeks ago on Time Honored Tuesdays stream, Jess and I did, and it reminded me how much fun the game actually is because the worker placement is a little bit different. The places that you can put your workers change from round to round, and when you place a dude there, it can fire off that thing. But if you place another worker further down the column that he's in, you can fire that one off, and when you fire that one off that's deeper down, you can pay a coin for all of the ones that are above it, and you can fire off all of those as well. So it's just a really neat mechanism for worker placement. It doesn't. It just felt a little bit more. Oh gosh, I guess I think it felt a little bit more forgiving. But it does have this little thing where if somebody as soon as somebody chooses the last place in a column, that whole column goes away. So if they fire off that last card before you fired off yours above it, you don't get to fire it off.
Oh.
So there is a little bit of tension there.
You don't fire it off when you place it?
No.
Oh.
Nope. You fire it off whenever you want to later on in the round. But if you wait too long and somebody fires off that last card before you fired off yours, you've lost your ability to do that. So it's a really neat mechanism, though. I really enjoyed it. That's Nehemiah.
My number 8 is an old classic. At least I feel like it's an old classic. It's definitely an old classic, although there is a revised version of it and some expansions out for it. But this is an old Uwe Rosenberg game called Agricola. Agricola had to make the list for me, just because of the depth and distance that this game has traveled. And as a game, you are sending your workers out to create food, to get resources, so that you can, make pens and put your animals in it and survive and live and love and eat.
And read cards.
And read what? There's no reading cards.
Yes,
there's
there
no reading
is.
Cards.
Oh my gosh, there's so much text.
Tiny bit of
There's
reading
so
cards.
much text on these cards.
No.
Yes, I hated that about this
love
game.
Agricola. It is such a tight, sometimes frustrating worker placement game where you're trying to snake out those last couple pieces of food. And then, you have to kind of do everything. You've got to kind of get all of the different creatures. You've got to make sure you cover as much of your board as possible or you lose points. But Agricola is a fantastic game. I will say, and we've had this conversation before you guys that know me on the Flipside channel will probably know that I haven't played Caverna up until this year. And I really like Caverna, but I've only played it a couple times, and I've only played it solo. So, as a solo game, I can say Caverna is not as good as Agricola. Not even close.
Ooh.
Because it does not change. It is a static game from game to game.
Sure.
The board doesn't change. The state doesn't change. It's going to come out in the exact same order.
But it's dwarves.
Yeah, but it's exactly the same.
But it's dwarves.
Like, I could literally play the same turns every turn for the entire game.
Oh, that's no fun.
And do the exact same thing.
But it's dwarves.
But it's dwarves. But I haven't played it multiplayer, so I need to do that. But for now, Agricola rules, Caverna drools.
My number 7, my real number 7. Consequently, my number 8 and my number 7 have the same weight, complexity wise, and my number 10 and my number 9 have the same weight, complexity wise.
Really?
Yep, that was interesting. Anyway, this one is called. It's another dice worker placement game, but this one takes place in space, called Alien Frontiers.
Oh, gotcha.
Alien Frontiers is, I think it's probably my OG worker placement game. Yours is Agricola. I got tired of Agricola very early on. It just wasn't fun to me. It was a very dry theme. I would have much rather played Alien Frontiers more often than not, if given the choice between those two. But Alien Frontiers is my OG as far as worker placement is concerned. It's really fun, using all of your dice in different, it's dice worker placement where the value that you are able to put out there determines in some way, shape, or form what you're able to do or how well you're able to do, where you're placing it on these different places on this planet. And it's a race to build. I can't remember what they call them. Your little bases. They come in little dome-shaped cities. Really neat components as well. But this one is fun. The expansions bring in different factions and pirates and all of this other stuff that kind of just throw some wrenches into the system that's provided by the base game. But it's a really enjoyable experience, in my opinion. Alien Frontiers, my number 7.
Very nice. My number 7 is everybody's favorite worker placement game. No, a lot of people's favorite worker placement game, actually. This is a Stonemeyer game called Viticulture. Viticulture, especially...
Not everybody's favorite worker placement game.
A lot of people's favorite worker placement game.
I'm happy to be in the minority.
Viticulture, especially with the Four Seasons board, because I think that is by far the best board, with the mamas and papas and all those kind of things. But you need that Four Seasons board to where you have the winter placement, you have the summer placement, and technically the one season's not on the board, but you have the winter placement, the summer placement, and the spring placement. But you have to manage how many workers you're going to use in each of the seasons as you go along, and each season you can do different things. Obviously you can't be planting in winter and you can't be doing those kind of things, but I really love viticulture. I love the the aging of the grapes, the aging of the wines, the upgrading of your player boards, which is something that I always love, the upgrading of your buildings and doing those kind of things. And on the Four Seasons board, you have that little area control area, which is good for some very cool bonuses and some very cool benefits when you need them. So I just really love this game. I have the wine cellar or the wine chest and all of the stuff in it. We've also got I think we have everything viticulture. We also have the cooperative viticulture world, the cooperative levels. So totally cool, amazing. Viticulture is just a fantastic game.
Cool.
Just like that.
All right, my number 6 is a game that has Vincent Dutrait's artwork on it. And that's one of the reasons why I really like it, because it's super pretty on the board. But it is called Discoveries, the Journals of Lewis and Clark. Not to be confused with Lewis and Clark, The Expedition, which also has Vincent Dutrait's artwork, is also produced by Ludonat, and also has to do with the same period in history of Lewis and Clark's travel to the West.
Do you think they tried to make one game and they got so much stuff and they're like, nah, let's just cut it in half? And
I don't think so, but Lewis and Clark, The Expedition is a heavier game than Discoveries, the Journals of Lewis and Clark is. So that's a lot of words. That's another thing. Depending on what weight of game that you like, I could literally put either of them on this list. I like them both equally to an extent. I like Discoveries, the Journals of Lewis and Clark, a little bit better because it is the lighter of the two. But I also like Lewis and Clark, the Expedition. So, but the one that I'm putting on this list for me particularly is Discoveries, the Journals of Lewis and Clark. It's another dice worker placement. That's really kind of my favorite version of worker placement. I like the rolling of a die and then, or dice, and then having to determine what you're going to use and where to come up with the best outcome for your turn. I like doing that. That's fun. Very, very close to that is having different kinds of workers that are able to be used for different things. That's my close second above. And both of those are really above just vanilla worker placement. Just having a bunch of dudes that can go out to a number of different places. Yep. That I still like that, but that's my third favorite kind of worker placement. It's a really fun game. It's very light, but very fun. My number 6, right? We're on number 6.
Number 6.
That's my last one. What you got?
Pretty good. All right, my last one is a crossover in almost name, but nothing else.
Why you want to get my hopes up like that?
Ezra and Nehemiah.
Yeah.
Garfield Games. Shem Phillips and Sam S.J. McDonald. Ezra and Nehemiah. Most of my games on this list actually are a little bit older games, which doesn't always happen with my lists. Terracotta Army is fairly new, 2022. But Ezra and Nehemiah is brand new this year.
Yep.
And this has the potential to become my favorite Shem Phillips game.
Really?
Guaranteed.
Wow.
Yeah, it has the potential to become my favorite, I think. I really like the way the mechanics were put together in this. And there is, it's kind of a love letter to many of his mechanics from different games, or many of their mechanics from different games, I should say. But I really like this game. And there is in the worker placement spot, there aren't that many different spots to go to on the board. But each of them is so highly tactical every single turn. And there's a lot of choices you have to make, especially if you're putting guys out on gates or putting guys out on the scribes, because you are losing your worker. And you have a limited number of workers, so you're losing your worker forever and trying to get more. So that balance of bringing in new workers and putting out workers that are staying on the board forever, I just really, really like this game.
That's cool.
I really like this game.
That's cool. Like I said, I absolutely entertained the idea of putting it on this list. I just, having only played once, and coupled with that, the fact that it is a heavier game, and I have less experience with heavier games, I need to play it more to see if it would actually have enough gumption to make it onto the list. Whereas with JT, that's right in his wheelhouse.
I really love this game.
He also, I think you're the one that read the rules for it and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so
I've played it a few times now.
That's another thing that I haven't done either. So I just didn't. I really enjoyed the one time that we played, and he's played it more than I have. So I really wanted to, but I just didn't feel like I could yet.
Sure, no, I get it. But that's my number 6, the last one for this bottom half list. That thing could surely climb.
Yep, understood. All right, well, that is that. Our bottom 5 worker placement games. Hey, if you've got nothing else to do, go on over to the Flipside, because our top 5 is ready for review right now. We'll see you there. Hit like and subscribe here. Comment in the bottom. Let us know what we did right, what we did wrong. Let us know what your bottom 5 is.
Yep.
We'll do our best to reply in kind. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.
See you later.